23dB Production Studios in the Garden State, New Jersey, this is The Art of Music Tech with your hosts, Fela and Dennis.
Let's go, and welcome to The Art of Music Tech. Thank you for listening and sharing via YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, and iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Fela, and over there's Dennis.
Hi, everybody.
We are in the Bronx. We are on the road with this particular episode with a very, very good friend since I had my early days of moving to New York City. He's been a great friend and mentor, and fresh off of the summer's hottest tour, right, Dennis?
OTR 2.
Yeah, I mean, On the Run 2 with Beyonce and Jay-Z. I mean, you don't get any bigger. He's the man at programming and playback. His name is Kevin Ryan, but we all know him as Kwiz. So welcome to the show, Kwiz.
Hey, thank you very much. What's up, y'all?
All right, doing great.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, thanks for, hey, I'm humbled just to be on it, so it's all good.
Oh, man, yeah, very humble guy, Kwiz. Man, so much to talk about. We want to get your early days in audio. Again, to go back, your producer, also as well as engineer, got you, all things audio and music.
Okay.
You're about. Just to blow you up. I know you're a humble man, but
We need to hear the story.
Well, I mean,
I gotta fit you out there. You're the man. So we learned so much about gear and endorsements and a whole bunch of stuff from you. Let's get the early stuff on how you got into audio and actually just early life, because you're from here in the Bronx, and again we're at his studio, Rhythm Lab.
right.
So let's go.
Well, I started playing drums like when I was 9. I started taking drum lessons. Took it from like a year, and then lost interest. Then when I was 14, I started being interested in playing drums again. So begged my parents if I could take some more drum lessons, but I needed a full drum set because the first time I was playing, I just had a snare drum and a cymbal, and it was boring as hell. So, my parents got me a little 3-piece set, started playing, taking lessons, took lessons for like 9 years. And I thought in the beginning, I was like, oh, I'm going to be a studio drummer. I'm going to be that dude, you know what I mean? But drum machines said, no, you're not going to do that, because everybody was using drum machines at that point. So I was like, okay, I got to figure something else out. And I was always interested in keyboards and things like that. And here we go again, begging my mom for, can I get a Moog keyboard? And
Wow.
Yeah.
High end, some high end.
Right,
instrument.
and my mom saw how much it cost, and she was like, "You're bugging." Like, so there was this keyboard called the Moog Rogue. It was a monophonic keyboard, only 2 octaves, and I think it costs like maybe $500, which is a lot of money. But my mom was like, "I'll get you this for Christmas as long as you get some decent grades." So I made sure I got some good grades, and for Christmas I got this Moog Rogue. So the only thing I could do is make weird sounds and lead lines and bass lines. Didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I just kept on making these little weird sounds and whatever. And then I bought a drum machine and started making beats. And next thing you know, a friend of mine was like, "You're going to be a producer one day." And I
What
didn't even
year?
know-
Tell us what year was that?
Oh, see, you're gonna date me, man. You're making me.
Oh, okay.
So it was in the early 80s. I'll put it to you like that.
Yeah.
So I didn't even know what a producer did. I mean, I would see like on the back of records when you read the liner notes and stuff, but I didn't know what a producer actually did. And I was a DJ at the time too. So I was doing a lot of DJing in the Bronx.
In the Bronx.
Yeah,
in there.
exactly.
The
but
area.
but the thing is, I wasn't a hip hop DJ. I was into club music. I was into like dance music.
Yeah.
So I was DJing in roller skating rinks out here, like the Bruckner roller skating rink. I DJ'd in, and I really loved being a club DJ. I wasn't into scratching or anything like that. But I loved what everybody calls a mashup now. I love doing those kind of things. So I would take an acapella from one record and the beat from another record, and so I was doing that back then. And I didn't realize that was me getting my foot wet in production.
What kind of tools did you have to do that?
I had 2 Technic 1800s. Like the 1200s were the ones. But I couldn't afford the 1200s, so I had to get the level right below that. So I got some 1800s. At this point, I was like 18, 19 years old, and I was, I had like part-time jobs and stuff like that. So I was saving my money. I ended up saving my money to get a TAC 1000. Was it 1000R, reel to reel? So I was mixing to this reel to reel, and I made my own bass cabinets because I had a friend that was a carpenter, and I started learning carpentry just on some. I was just interested. I was always interested in a lot of weird stuff, so I started building bass cabinets. Next thing you know, I'm making bass cabinets for other DJs and stuff like that. And I'm doing this in my bedroom in my parents' apartment.
Money.
Huh?
Were you making money?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't making a lot of money, but because a lot of people weren't. It's not like people were just knocking my door down, but you know what I mean?
But you still sold them.
Yeah, I made a few dollars.
Great.
Matter of fact, I could show you some of my old designs.
Oh, okay.
Perfect.
We'll take pictures and post
I would
it.
love to see
Yeah. I still have them actually. So, but I ended up doing that. Actually, if you look to your left, you see those 2-phase linear amplifiers?
Yeah.
Those are what I used to use when I was DJing.
Oh, okay.
Right in front of us.
All right.
Yeah, right. So, I was doing all of that. I was still playing drums and messing around with this keyboard. And next thing you know, I was like, I'm gonna start making some songs, making something. You know what I mean? And I just started that way. You know what I mean? And it just started to grow and grow and grow, and now I'm here.
You just do something every day. And adding to it.
That 10,000 hour thing.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
With passion.
Yeah.
With passion.
Yeah, because I was definitely passionate about it. I mean, I had a lot of different things I was interested in, but music always seemed to supersede everything else. You know what I mean? So,
we were talking earlier about discipline, and you were talking
Sports.
about
yeah. I mean, I studied martial arts.
Yeah.
I was boxing. My dad made me start boxing when I was a little kid because he saw me getting picked on. And then I started, getting into Taekwondo. As an adult, I started studying ninjutsu. So, I've always been. I guess I shouldn't say always, but I did get a sense of discipline, not only from my dad, but just from the particular things I was studying.
Yeah.
And then
and that's from 11. So you're doing the music thing and this other thing that's very disciplined. So, and music, if you're disciplined, you'd be very successful at it. But you have to be disciplined.
You got to be really disciplined. But I was all over the place because I was a baseball player too.
Oh, yeah.
And I got scouted by the Yankees when I was 17.
Wow.
And I was just like, I think, and this is not a bragging thing. I was just a naturally good baseball player, but I wasn't really strong. Like I've always been really slim, skinny. And when I went to audition for the tryout for the Yankees, I couldn't hit because I was like, these were grown men trying to play professional baseball, trying to make the Yankees. I'm 17. I might have weighed about 145 pounds max, soaking wet. And I'm seeing like 90-mile-an-hour fastballs, and I've never seen a ball like thrown that hard before. So it was really difficult for me to hit. I couldn't even bunt. I was so like nervous standing in the box, but I fielded really well. And they recognized that I had a little potential, but they were like, dude, you got to put on like 10, 15 pounds of muscle because you're just, you ain't it right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was wise enough or smart enough to know back then how much work I would have to do to gain
professional sport.
15 pounds of muscle at 17. Like, I'm not built for this. You know, you know what I mean? So, and it's not like I couldn't have done it, but mentally I wasn't ready because I didn't love it like I love music. Yeah. You know what I mean? Music was the thing. So just it's one of those things, man.
Yeah. So that kind of phased out, and then around 18 with the 17 with
The baseball
the baseball
thing. Yeah, like
like
around 18 is when I was like, yeah, I'm not.
And then you were DJing and
right,
and doing that. And what made you get into like the engineering? So, well, I guess actually this whole thing is engineering from the get.
Well,
like you're learning the basics with the most
Building
basics
amps.
of gear.
Right, because I'm recording to reel and cassettes and making mixtapes with people and everything. So I'm learning the basics of recording. I'm learning that this is going to distort if I record this. So I learned the basics.
Exactly.
And so like I'll fast forward a little bit, and I had 2 kids. I had twin boys, and I realized, okay, now I got to be super responsible, but I still got to pursue this music. And as time went on, I bought more equipment. I bought a 4-track, and I bought another keyboard, and I'm working my full-time job, but I'm still grinding out.
And what's your full-time job at that point?
At that point, I was working for Avis Rent-A-Car while I was in school. I was in college. And I was working for Avis Rent-A-Car. I hated the job. But every night I would come home and spend like 2-3 hours at the very least working on music. Never took I stopped taking drum lessons at that point because I wasn't really even playing like that anymore, because it was all about MIDI, MIDI keyboards,
programming,
MIDI.
drum
Yeah,
machines.
exactly. So, I was doing that for years and trying to teach myself how to play keyboards. And I ended up finding a keyboard, this guy named Les Horan. He was like semi-famous piano teacher in Manhattan. And I took 3 lessons from him. And my third lesson, the first lesson I took, he just was like, all right, let me hear what you could do. And I started playing on this, he had like 2 grand pianos, and he would sit on one side and I'm sitting on the other piano, and I started playing just what I can do, you know what I mean? So he was like, where did you learn those chords? And I was like, I just hear it. So I just started doing it. So he was like, okay. So he started giving me like basic, not even theory, but basic exercises on how to get faster, and not even teaching me any chords. He was just like, I just want you to get familiar with how to move around the keyboards, the right fingering and all that stuff. Second lesson, he was like, okay, keep on doing that. And then he gave me a couple of other pointers. And then the third lesson, he was like, listen, are you trying to be like a professional keyboard player, or are you doing this so you want to write songs? And I said, more just to write songs. I'm not interested in doing concerts or anything like that.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't want to waste your money. He was like, you have a natural gift and you hear things that are actually technically strange, but they work in the jazz world because you're playing dissonant chords and you don't even realize what you're playing, but these chords work in jazz. Like, keep doing that. He was like, I don't want to mess you up with the rules, because if I mess you up with the rules, you might not get more of what you're already doing. So at first, I thought he was just rejecting me. Like, I was just like, man, maybe I just can't play good enough. And he's really more a teacher for advanced students. But I ran it by a few other musician friends of mine, and they were like, nah, like, he's right. Like, if I knew that when I was a kid, I probably wouldn't have been taking as many lessons as I took, because a lot of my friends were at that time were classically trained. But they would even be like, hey, man, how'd you learn? You're like, where'd you learn that? I mean, and I'm looking at these guys like, yo, you guys are amazing. I couldn't play anywhere near as well as they can play. But from a chord standpoint, like, I would play interesting things that they wouldn't think of. You know what I mean? Because I guess they were so immersed in
the rules.
The rules. And you were just creative and passionate.
The theory. Like, this is what theory is, and you do this and this,
Yeah.
So I just kept on going. But the weird thing is I kind of fell into this jazzy mode because that's what I was just doing, and everybody was like, wow, you really like jazz, huh? And I'm like, I like jazz, but it's not like I'm intentionally trying to sound like that. But for a while, I was considered to be like somebody that comes up with jazzy kind of sound. I guess it was like the early version of like neo soul, but it wasn't called neo soul. You know what I mean? And am I talking too long about this?
No.
Okay.
I didn't know that. So
No.
Yeah.
This
I'm hearing
is
for the first time.
So okay, we all know who Andre Harrell is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Andre Harrell and I met when we were kids, like we were teenagers, and
Wow.
at this point, Andre had just started this record label called Uptown Records.
Yeah.
And his cousin was engaged to one of my good friends, Gabe, and basically Gabe was the one that told me that Andre had this label, and Gabe was a singer, and we were trying to do this little group together. So we played some things for Andre, and Andre was like, "Yo, man, this is happening, that is happening." And he came to my house when I was living in Queens at the time. He came to my house, and he heard some stuff I was doing, and he was like, "You did all of this on a 4-track?" And I was like, "Yeah, He was like, "It sounded like you did it on a 16-track or something. How'd you get all of those parts? And it still sounds kind of clean or whatever." I was like, "Man, I'm just trying to do what I could do with the little bit I have." You know what I mean? So I was going to sign to Uptown as a producer, as a staff producer. Things didn't go well with the negotiating, but it didn't dissuade me. I just kept on moving. And in the meantime, I ended up producing and doing vocal arrangements for this artist named Jeff Redd that was signed to Andre's label. And then Andre asked me to do a demo, and historically this has never been told publicly, but I ended up doing a demo for this girl named Mary J Blige.
Wow.
And I actually used her to sing background on one of Jeff Redd's records. So Andre asked me to do the demo because her first demo that he heard was like a karaoke kind of thing she did in a shopping mall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Andre was like, he heard the potential, but he was like, I want to hear her on a real song, like a real. So I did her official demo.
First demo.
When you hear the Mary J Blige stories, you never hear about me doing that demo. But her official demo was a song I wrote. You know what I mean? You can ask Mary, like me and Mary, like when we see each other, it's still love. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
but
yeah,
her official demo I did. And that's the
nobody
thing
knew about that.
Yeah.
Exclusive.
Yeah, but that's how that solidified her deal.
Yes.
And Jeff Redd, the artist that I was producing at the time, basically met her stepfather, I think, because they worked at the same place, and that's how Mary got in front of Andre. You know what I mean? Because of Jeff Redd. But yeah, it's a small world, and how things unfold is crazy, man.
Wow, Uptown. So you the Puffy and all that area.
Listen,
like wow.
I remember when Puffy was just happy to be in the building.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
Puffy was like an intern in the beginning. And I remember. I distinctly remember the first time I met Puffy, and he was happy to be in the building. He had a little skinny tie on. He had
okay. He was ready for
button down.
business
Yo,
back
he was.
then.
Yeah, he was. He had a little wrinkled button down shirt, but he was like, you could tell this kid is hungry. You know what I mean? Like
he was ready.
Yeah. So.
Still is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? I mean, like I never really made friends with Puffy. I just met him. And it was like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That kind of thing.
In the atmosphere of what was going on. Wow, that was an era.
Right.
The beginning of.
Right.
I
was messing with Uptown before Jodeci got there.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? That was the early days.
Wow.
Because when I met Puffy, that's when they moved from Uptown. Used to be in Brooklyn, on 4th Avenue in Brooklyn, and they moved to Broadway once they got to deal with MCA Records and the bigger distribution situation. So they Yeah, that's when I met Puffy.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it was an interesting time.
Yeah,
you know?
so in that time you were starting to really produce and
Producing.
real on a higher
Right.
level,
Right.
and it's growing, and
Right.
you feeling good. You're in your early 20s at this
Right,
time, right?
right.
So you're really, and
Yeah.
that this is just growing, like.
Yeah.
So from there, what happens from
Well, like I said, I didn't end up signing with Uptown because of
negotiation?
contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, some things I just was like, nah, I can't do that. You
Uh-huh.
know, and I didn't do anything for a while, like maybe a year. I didn't have anything, and then all of a sudden, how did I meet Tayshawn? Oh, okay. So Nile Rodgers had a seminar, and I decided to go to this seminar and listen to what this man had to say, because I always respected
yeah.
Chic, and I was like, man, these guys are dope. You know what I mean? So I went to this seminar, and I had a cassette. Actually, that cassette is in that display out there. When you leave, you come check it out.
Oh yeah.
But I had this cassette of this song called Brazilian Lady, which I produced for Jeff Red on Uptown. So after he said what he said, and I learned some things from Nile or whatever, at the end of the seminar, I walked up to his assistant, this woman named Lasvia Castro. And, oh, yeah, because Nile invited people. Like, if you have anything you want me to listen to, just bring it up. My assistant will take it, and we'll listen to it. And, you know, if we like it, we'll get back to you, whatever.
Wow.
Cool. So I go up
That's
to
really
Lasvia.
cool.
I gave her the cassette. A couple of days later, I get a call. Nile wants to meet you. Really? Yeah. Come down to Skyline Studio, you know. And so I go down to Skyline, whatever, a couple of days later or whatever. And Nile was starting a record label called Ear Candy. And now I spoke to him. It was just he and I. We talked maybe an hour and a half. And I got so much knowledge from that dude.
Wow.
In that span of time. Like, he inspired me so much. And then the fact that he loved what I did with the records that I did, and he wanted to sign me as one of the staff producers for Ear Candy. Unfortunately, the deal fell through for him. So it never we never, you know, worked together again. But I was so inspired that I was like, man, I'm a producer. Because if Nile Rodgers said I could be there, like, I'm a producer. So I just...
Yes.
It's on.
Yeah.
Let's go.
It's on. Let's go. I will say knowledge is power, but sometimes, depending on who you are and the type of personality you have, knowledge can set you back. Because sometimes when you know too much, people tend to back away from you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I knew a lot about the business side. Like, at the time, I had a really good attorney named Denise Brown, and she put me onto a lot about the music business and what to look out for. And I had other opportunities, certain things I don't want to talk about.
Yeah.
But because I had this knowledge and I wasn't naive and I wasn't ripe for the picking to get jerked, you know what I mean? I either passed on certain situations, or certain situations they passed on me because I was asking too many questions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And, you know, you live and you learn.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Some things are just not for you. Some things, and you know, you look back and you're like, man, I still could have made a lot of money, but you know, you gonna compromise? Are you gonna compromise your morals, or are you gonna be able to sleep at night? You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So
So that era was like
it was
a lot of things.
It was a lot of
in and out. And
at the time, I was still holding down a full-time job. Now, at
Oh,
this point,
still?
I mean, I had two
Okay.
kids.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? So at this point, I'm working for the New York City Transit Authority.
Okay.
And, you know, I needed benefits because my sons are young, you know, so I was like, I have to work. And, you know, some of the things that were offered to me were like, they would throw a number at me, but they were like, you can't work. You got to quit your job. Well, this number is only going to work for me for 6 months, maybe, then what's going to happen? I'm going to lose my benefits over this number. I don't know. You can't guarantee I'm going to get more than this number. So, there's certain things I just couldn't do. You know?
Decisions. You got to make a decision.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, when you have kids. Now, probably if I didn't have kids at the time, I probably would have made a different decision because it would have just been me. Just me worrying about me. But, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a real interesting time. I worked on a few other records too, but it was
okay.
But so I'm skipping the whole Les Via Castro thing. So like the whole thing with Niles, it didn't work out, but it was great. But Les Via Castro remembered me, and all of a sudden she was like, she called me and she was like, I want to introduce you to this artist named Tayshawn. He's really dope. And Andre Harrell's company is doing this movie called Go Beverly, right? Go Beverly. Okay. Well, they need a theme for it. Okay, cool. So I meet Tayshawn, comes to the house, started working on music. I came up with a track. He wrote this great song called Go Beverly. Played the song. Everybody loved it. And then the studio decided they were going to change the name of the movie to Strictly Business. You remember that movie?
Yeah, with Halle Berry.
Halle Berry, yeah. So the song we wrote,
Tommy Davidson. Yeah, I remember
the song
that.
we wrote didn't fit anymore. And then Andre, decided, well, I want to use the artist on my label to do, so that's. But it was like, man.
Yeah, that was in that era.
Exactly.
I remember that.
Right. But Tayshawn and I, we developed a cool relationship. So Tayshawn was like, yo, I want you to do something on my album. So I produced a song on his album. The album was called In the Name of Love. He was an R&B artist, real cool R&B artist. And I don't know if you know who David Kahn is. David Kahn is he's a pretty big producer.
Yeah, okay.
But I met him through that. Do you know Michael Brauer?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Michael Brauer mixed that record.
Oh.
He mixed the record I produced. And I learned some stuff from Michael Brauer.
Whew. Yeah, he did Coldplay's. Yeah,
Michael Brauer. He's
yeah.
done a lot of big artists. But even back then, Michael Brauer had towers full of outboard gear, crazy stuff. Michael Brauer was the first, and I didn't even know what it was called at this point, but he was the first person to do multi-bus compression.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
I
didn't even know what it was called, but I remember damn, he was mixing on the S. We were in shoot, what's the name of the studio? What's the studio that Tupac got shot in New York? Quad. We were in the Quad penthouse. And he had that whole penthouse. That was his room. And he had one assistant and this big-ass SSL. It was I don't know, maybe 56, 60 channels. I don't remember. But it was a big SSL. I believe it was a 4000. But I was just I just came into the session to hear where he was with my mix. You know what I mean? And Michael Brauer literally took what I did and he added some spice to it. But the cool thing about Michael Brauer is he was like, I listened to your demo mix. I really like certain elements and I kept them. He redid it, but he redid it to sound like what was in the demo. And I listened to it, and I saw how he took my mix to the next level, but it automatically made me go, how'd you do that? And how did this happen? And why does this sound like this now? You know what I mean? And he started showing me stuff on the console, and I was like, oh, that's what you... No, I mean, he didn't teach me a lot, but it was things that...
Enough to get you
thought process.
Exactly. You know what I mean? The wheels are turning in your head now, how could I don't have all this gear. How do I make this happen? And this is before DAWs and plugins and all that stuff.
Analog.
So it was just damn, you know how much gear I have to buy to
That's overwhelming. I can imagine. Yeah, in the 90s, it was insane.
Yeah, it was crazy.
The gear Wow. Yeah.
So it was really, really, really crazy. But I was like, man, when I ever get the money, I'm gonna buy this and I'm gonna do that. And
Do your own thing.
Yeah. So it
Shout
was.
out.
I had like some really good teaching moments. You know what I mean? Back then, just being with different engineers. Even when I did the Jeff Red record, I learned what not to do. Because the Jeff Red record, the mix was horrible. The whole mix was out of phase. The whole mix was out of phase. And when I went to the studio to hear it, shoot, I'm calling him out. It was an engineer named Jay Henry. And I literally sat in the studio and I was like, this doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Like, what happened to the low end? Like, something sounds weird. It's and I said to him, it sounds like a phase shifter is on everything. And he was, you know what his answer was?
What?
Oh, don't worry about that. Don't worry, it's fine. You know, if there's any problems, they'll fix it in mastering. That's what he told me.
What?
Oh, wow. We went
And,
past fix it in the mix to fix it in master.
He was the mix engineer. And I'm like, you can't hear this?
Wow.
I remember he was playing it on some Uris. You remember those Uri main monitors? They had blue horns on them. Maybe that's too.
That's a
little bit too early for y'all.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was playing them on these Uris, and I was like, man, this thing sounds horrible. But when he told me, when he said what he said, I looked at it like, this man has way more experience in this than I do. I guess, maybe he's right. I don't know. I'm new at this. This is my
But I think
first-
something clicked in your head. It was like,
Again.
goddamn,
Yeah.
you can do it too.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
this is crazy. So I was like, yeah, okay, cool. When the record came out and it sounded exactly like what I heard, I was so pissed. Cause I'm like, damn, this is not cool, man.
They didn't fix it in mastering,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
nobody
Yeah, exactly.
could. Yeah,
Nobody
wow.
could fix that. You know what I mean? So it was like, that was my lesson on what not to do. Next time, really speak up. Because this is your music, man. This
Yeah.
is your art. You
Your
know what I mean?
livelihood as well.
Right.
Yeah, I mean.
Right. So, it was, yeah, that was weird. I can keep on going.
On
man.
that tip. Oh yeah, we all have those ish,
Stories.
stories in a studio. Yeah.
Right.
So from there,
Okay. So let's fast forward a little bit more. My girlfriend at the time wanted to start. She was a singer, and she wanted to start a girls group. So she was like, "Can you help me? Put some girls together or whatever, and I want to start a girls group and see what we could do." It's like, "All right, cool." So we auditioned some people, and some would work out, certain ones wouldn't work out. Long story short, it was going to be a 5-girl group. Don't laugh at the name. I named them the Earth Girls because it was like 5 black women, but they were all different shades. And it was like, yo, this represents Earth. You know what I mean? So I'm like, yo, they're the Earth Girls. Long story short, again, we go through about 15 different people. 15 different people rotated in the group until we got the core 5. You know what I mean? And I did a whole album on them. Just knocked out a whole album.
And so at this point, you were you did everything, recorded, mixed.
Right. I'll tell you the gear update on that.
Yeah.
I had a 4-track, right? And then at one point I updated to a Tascam 8-track, and it was this 8-track that was everything was built into this one console, right? I'm skipping some things because I did some stuff for Lisa and Cold Jam.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that was.
That makes sense with the dance.
Right.
Yeah,
right,
freestyle is big. Yeah,
Right,
all
right.
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Right, and Full Force was hating on me, but
That's
another that's another story because
That's too funny.
yeah they were hating on me because the A&R really dug what I was doing, and Lisa and Span the Door, and I forgot the other cast. They were like, yo, Full Force, because they were signed to Full Force.
Yeah.
And Full Force was like, nah, fuck that. Like, nah, we not letting this dude get in. So they just was hating on me in this meeting, but it was all good.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'm working with this girls group. We finally got the core 5. And in the meantime, I really wanted to get better gear, but the money wasn't there. Mm-hmm. And I had this Jeep, this Mitsubishi Montero. No, sorry, it looked like a Mitsubishi Montero. It was made by Dodge. It was called the Dodge Raider, and it got stolen, and it was relatively new, right? So when it got stolen, I'm like, damn, whatever. I get the insurance money, and I got like $10,500, right? Mm-hmm. I was like, cool. Guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy some gear.
Invest. You invested,
exactly.
Right?
People were like, you didn't put it in the bank? No. So I bought a Tascam. I bought another 8-track, but it was the Rackmaner Tascam cassette 8-track.
Yeah.
And I bought a Tascam M3500 console. And the M3500 was a 64 input console.
Ooh.
Right. So you had 32 line
on
inputs.
The face, yeah.
And then you had on the short faders, you had another 32. So you had a total, you know what I mean? You didn't have EQ on the upper 32, but you had it on the lower 32. So you can
32 is plenty of.
and it had 8 buses, so it was. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this thing and really play big dog engineer. You know what I mean? I already had my NS10s at the time.
Oh wow!
Course.
You know what I mean? So I'm doing that, and we did the demo, the album on this console, and I played it for my manager at the time, and he was like, "Congratulations! I think you got something here." And at the time, I was doing a lot more songwriting, and I wrote like 90% of the songs. I wrote 100% of the music, but I wrote 90% of the songs. And he took it to my lawyer. My lawyer loved it. She took it to EMI. EMI loved it. She took it to Capitol Records. They loved it. She took it to Virgin Records. They loved it. All of a sudden, there's a bidding war for this album. And I'm like, whoa, this is kind of crazy. You know what I mean? So Virgin Records flew us out to LA because they wanted to really see what was up with the group. And before they flew us out, I'm still kind of like this. I'm like a drill sergeant in a way. I was way worse back then, though. But I would rehearse the hell out of that group. You know what I mean? 5 days a week, they were at my house for 3 hours a night, just rehearsing. So before we went out there, there was a guy at Virgin that we had to meet. He was the head of radio promotion, I think. His name was Raymond Jones, I think. And he had an office in Manhattan. So we went out there, and basically Virgin wanted to just make sure that the girls could really sing before they fly everybody out to L.A. So his name was Raymond Jones. Yeah. So the girls did their thing. He loved them. He gave us the thumbs up. So we went out to L.A. Meanwhile, when we're in L.A., Capitol's like, yo, so why don't you come by? And, I was like, that's kind of unethical, man. Like, you know what I mean? We're on these, you know what I mean?
On their dime,
Right, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
And they understood. They were cool. So we went out to Virgin Records, and we performed in front of their staff. And they killed it. I can't say names because some of these people are really still rocking. But they wanted to sign them. They threw a number at me, and I could say the number. It was $500,000. They wanted to give me a $500,000 production deal. So they were going to hit me with $500,000 to do the official record, and then pay their advances and stuff out of my budget. Cool. but they wanted to pull 3 songs off the album, right? So I was like, okay, why? Just don't like them. Okay, cool. What don't you like about them? Because I want some constructive criticism, or maybe I can just change some things, or you tell me. I don't know. I just don't like them. That didn't sit well with me. If you're an A&R and the head of A&R at that, you're supposed to be able to give me better feedback than that. I just don't like them. So I went back to this brother named Raymond Jones, whatever. And I was like, yo, this is what I was told, and I don't understand. Like, what's going on with that? I mean, we're still basking, like the girls are still basking off of like the hype that everybody at Virgin gave them. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, listen, that person manages other producers, and she's just trying to create slots so she can get her team on your album. That didn't sit well with me. I told the girls group, they were like, that's weird, like that's not cool. So I said, let me see what Capitol was talking about. So we flew back to New York, and Capitol flew Matt Robinson out. He was the vice president of Black Music. He came to New York, met with the girls. Well, before he came, he called me on he called me at home with my lawyer on the phone, and he was like, yo, this record is out of control, what a, it's like, cool, this is dope, you know what I mean? So he came out, we met, he hit it off with the girls, everything was cool, and he was just saying the right things, you know what I mean? So I ended up signing with them. EMI put up an offer, but it wasn't, it was all right, but they weren't really talking anything slick. So Capitol ended up signing with them. So I signed a production deal. Basically just re-recorded everything we did. And worked that album. So basically I signed in September. I recorded and mixed everything by the end of December of that year, and then I turned in the masters in February of the following year. The girls shot one video, and it went to number 4 on BET Countdown. And the song was doing well, not in New York per se, but in the West. And it was doing well, that's another thing. They leaked the album in England, right? No, that was a good thing.
Oh, that was a good thing. All right.
I didn't at the
time.
At the time, I was like, yo, how the hell does this guy know? And you know how I found out it got leaked? We were auditioning video directors, right? And this one director was from England, and while talking to him, he started singing some of the songs, and I'm like, how'd you know about that song? He was like, oh, they're playing it out. They're playing it out in England already. I'm like, what? And at the time, I don't know what's going on with pirate radio out there right now, but there was pirate radio out there because the BBC was like the only thing that would play.
The big thing,
right? So they had something like 500 pirate radio stations. So somehow these cats were getting the record and playing it all over the place. So the girls were bigger out there than they were in the United States.
Europe.
You know what I mean?
Big in Europe.
Big
The
in Europe.
obligatory.
Yeah, it was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
I did a remix on one of the songs. That was the other thing. They let me do my own remixes. I had Busta Rhymes on one song. I don't know if you know this rapper named Smooth the Hustler.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Oh, wow.
It was Busta and Smooth on this one joint.
Wow.
Yeah, that's another story, like how I got that to happen. But yeah, I was doing my own remixes and everything.
Wow.
And remixes were ending up on these CDs, like the industry CDs at the time called Sin. And basically, what labels would do would put singles on this industry-wide CDs to circulate it so people can hear what the label was like. Yo, we getting ready to come out with this.
Yeah.
So I did this remix on one of the songs, and I turned it in as a demo. Like, yo, what do you think about this? Not even knowing about this Sin CD thing, right? And they were like, "Oh yeah, that's dope. Like, yeah, we need to do that. So let's get the paperwork together so we can get you paid and da 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 da." So we go back to L.A. to Capitol. Now this is the crazy thing. They've already been signed for almost a year at this point. But we go to perform for the staff, right? Mm-hmm. The staff didn't even know about the girls. They thought they just got signed.
Damn.
The girls perform, and they're like, "These girls are incredible. Where'd they come from?" It's like, we've been here for like a year. Like, and it was just crazy. And that was another just a really weird time. It was just another weird time.
The shopping process, period.
Oh man,
is such an interesting process. We've gotten to see it close up, and it's an experience.
Yeah.
It's something that you can't really tell
Behind the closed doors.
The
conversations.
because they all do the same things.
Right.
It's the same language. It's such an interesting process. It's crazy.
Big speakers.
Big speakers playing your music loud, and everybody got to bob their head really hard.
Right. But it was really crazy. And then so I'm meeting different people in marketing departments or whatever. Because the way I had, remember I tell you about sometimes when you know too much is not a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
With my production deal, I had a lot of control. So I was meeting with a lot of the marketing people and radio promotion people, you know what I mean, and trying to just make sure everything was going to be the way it should be. And I met this one guy, and he was like, "Oh yeah, we got one of your songs on the Sin CD." And I'm like, "What's a Sin CD? What's that?" He was like, "Oh," and he explained what I told you it was. So I was like, "Oh, really?" I was like, "What song?" And he pulls the song out that I remixed, and he plays it. And I'm like, "That's a rough mix. That's not even the mix. Like, I just turned that in just to make sure y'all were cool with the How the hell, man? Like I was just like, yo, I don't like how this is moving right now. Like, this is moving real weird for me. Like, you know what I mean?" So I was like, that was something else. So anyway, the video, like I said, the video goes to number 4 on BET. The girls doing all these interviews, and people are loving them. We did this thing called the Black Family Reunion in D.C. It's a big event every summer. And Monica was there, and a bunch of known artists, you know what I mean? And girls performed, and like people were bugging out.
Wow.
I swear to you, people were bugging out like, yo, who are these girls? I remember us going back to the they had like a section for people to come over and meet the artists, and the girls were at a table and they were signing, autographing pictures, and the girls are tripping because they're like,
didn't expect that.
right?
Yeah,
they're like,
it's
and
a
I'm like,
warm
me too.
welcome.
I'm looking like, wow, like these people are really feeling them. Like, this is going to be something else. Like, you know what I mean? And it was just really a really interesting time, and things were really looking good. And I'm fast forwarding a little bit because we did a few shows in different places, and we were on Soul Train, and the video, like I said, and they sang a cappella on BET with, remember Donnie Simpson?
Oh,
BET?
yeah.
They sang.
Video Soul.
Video Soul. They were singing a cappella, and people were just floored by their vocals, and it was dope. And now we're into, this is like 97. We go to this conference in Palm Springs. I forgot the name of the conference, but I get a call from their agent, and they're basically saying, yo, we want the girls to go to England and open up for this group called Soul for Real. Remember Soul for
Yeah,
Real?
so for real.
And we're like, wow, this is just
Candy
really,
Rain.
it's just, exactly. This thing is rolling and it's rolling.
That
and
was
we're
a
like,
high record back. Holy cow. Yeah,
Right.
that was huge.
so we're, I'm at the
Yeah.
hotel and everything is good. We're like, cool. This is going to be crazy. Never been overseas before. So I'm like, this is going to be great. So I get a call from, I could say her name, Gwen Quinn. She was the head of publicity back then. She's a really dope publicist, Mm-hmm. She does publicity for a lot of big stars. Gwen goes, there's a problem. And I'm like, what's up? She was like, Capitol's getting ready to shut down the black music department. I'm out here in LA. I can't even get home because my budget just got frozen. I can't even get a ticket to fly home, to fly back to New York. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, we were like right here. We were right here. We were touching the ceiling for a second. Like, ooh, we get ready to break through the ceiling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, baby.
And it was just like all this confusion, whatever. So we ended up, we finished the conference or whatever, and we ended up going back to New York, going back home. And then, like I said, this was in February. And literally like a week later, I get a telegram from Capitol. Your deal has been terminated. You don't owe any more. You don't owe any money, whatever, but it's over. Yeah. Talk about a punch to the
Chris,
gut.
yeah.
Oh, my God. Yo.
Yeah, that's breathless. She was
Oh.
like, yeah, definitely.
It took years to get over that.
Over that, I know. Oh my goodness! Some of these joints,
Yeah,
you know.
honestly, my career is so heartbreaking. Because I'm not even finished with the heartbreaking. My career is so heartbreaking. I mean, it's so crazy, but it was great at the same time.
Oh,
it
yeah.
is great at the same time. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't. Now I'm not gonna say I wouldn't trade it, but but I would take what I went through over working doing a 9 to 5 at a corporate job any day of the week.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Because
here.
honestly, I've made a great living
Yeah.
doing what I do, and
You're an expert too.
Do you think we're working with
Sort of, a
ladies
little bit.
earlier helped you out too with Beyonce,
absolutely.
dealing?
Yeah, we're gonna switch to Beyonce soon. So
Yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah.
I mean,
I think,
but dealing with 5 women and that's
yeah.
in the singing perspective, that's a lot.
Right,
That's
yeah.
a lot.
It did.
So
It definitely. I learned a lot
I'm sure.
from them,
Uh-huh.
and I learned a lot about myself as far as like my temperament and how I have to calm down in certain situations or whatever. Because like I said, I'm a Virgo. Like Beyonce, we're like perfectionists. So like we'll work on certain things, like minute things for hours and hours and hours, and get on everybody's nerves. You know what I mean? And then when a Virgo does it to me, it gets on my nerves too. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh my God, what the hell's wrong with you, man? Like, but I gotta understand it because I know what it is.
You know what it is.
And if we're gonna segue to Beyonce, like you see what that stubborn Virgo
Oh yes.
thing does, man. It makes you a superstar. You know what I'm saying? It's done for a reason.
Yeah, those
what I mean?
tweaks, those
Yeah.
getting it right, getting it to the minute detail. People
Yeah.
notice that, and they don't, and that's why you love her, because she does stuff that you wouldn't even do. You don't hold yourself at that level.
Right.
And I think that's more respect that I have. For her is like, man, you just take it to another level when you don't have to.
Right. And you know what?
And why
too?
not?
Exactly. You know what she does that I totally respect, and I didn't recognize in the beginning, but she does things so outside the box that at first, like, here's another negative Virgo trait. Virgos are very critical, right? So at first you're being critical, like, that's not how that gets done. Like, this is not correct. This is, oh shit, that shit worked. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, wow, it worked. And it didn't just work because she's who she is. It worked because it really worked.
Works.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's thinking outside the box. And you know, I learned that lesson early on working with her.
You
as
make it
well.
work, right? You make it
Yeah,
work.
because she'll do some things that are so unconventional, and you're like, oh my god, this is gonna be terrible, you know, and it's not. It's actually dope. You know what I mean? And it's like, damn,
Trust me.
right. You know what I mean? Like, and you gotta respect that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if you don't learn from that, then you're not growing. You
I
know
mean,
what
you'll be in the same spot. Like, I mean,
Right.
every album, another level. I
Right.
mean, just her audio, the sound, period.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think people really give her the props on just the how it sounds.
Right.
Like, I mean, we're talking about the best of the best now, even with the On the Run tour to stuff and the album, you could tell it has to be high def. It's at least at 96, if not 192 recorded, because the detail is there
Production
no matter
value is
what.
outstanding.
Yeah.
You know.
I can't even tell you what bit depth they were using, but you're right. It sounds
It's
right.
no matter what you listen to that on, and I feel like we're in like the caviar day, the salad days of hip hop, where we're finally not in a basement anymore, where we can shine, and we're using the
Right.
best of the best now with hip hop. It's
Well-
pretty dope.
Well, I think some of that just has to do with people just being better at using the tools.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Boy.
Because like there's
Yeah.
no like when one thing about analog audio, no, I don't care what high end manufacturer you know what kind of gear you're using or whatever. It could be manly stuff, super high end stuff, anything you name. There's a level of inconsistency that happens in manufacturing in analog circuitry. You just cannot, you know, this is like nobody has the same fingerprint. There's that one little, that's why when you pull up, when you're on an actual analog console, each channel sounds slightly different from the other. But that's what makes it sound dope, too.
Dope,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
it's now, especially a lot of cats that are not even hybrid mixing, they're just purely mixing in the box. A lot of cats are learning how to deal with that.
Yeah.
You know, especially the cats that were that moved from analog into digital. Well, they already knew the idiosyncrasies of working with analog gear and how to get around that. to
Being
still make
aware
it
of
sound.
that too, right?
And
Being aware.
exactly, awareness is key. But now that they have plugins, they already know, well, this is going to sound this way all the time. There's
With the
always
preset.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, you know, hey, hey,
You know
when
what
you
you
when
gonna
you're
use.
Russian, sometimes you're like, let me see what presets they got.
Got up here, exactly.
I can just sweep that up. That's it. You know what I mean? But you know,
Exactly.
you have a level of consistency that you never had in the analog world. So
Yeah.
with analog circuitry getting better, with A to D getting better, DA to getting better, like, you know, you can come up with something pristine,
Yeah.
even though you're using, like, I mean, you think about it, the samples that mostly everybody's using are 16-bit samples.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you're just at 16-bit at 44, sometimes 48. But if you're recording your vocals and any like bass or whatever at 96,
You hear it.
you're going to hear it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
The
Along with
detail.
that, you're going to hear that detail. You know what I mean? And then your reverb tails, all that stuff. Everything is going to have a certain amount of detail. Like the trick bag is how do you get that to translate in a to an MP3? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
That's the trick bag. You know what I mean? And and then we get into dithering and better. Who has the better? Dithering.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Their stuff sounds so good and there's so much information, even in MP3 level.
Off
Right.
of YouTube.
It jumps out the speaker.
Right.
Yeah.
I credit that to the mixer
Oh yeah.
and whoever's doing the master. I don't know who masters all this stuff, but Stuart White does the majority of her mixing. So does Tony Maserati.
Oh,
You know, he
yeah.
does a lot of stuff.
I think
Just
Jimmy
saw him.
Douglas did 444, right?
Yeah.
Who?
Jimmy Douglas
Jimmy
did,
Douglas. Yep.
did 444.
Yeah, he did 444 because No ID likes Jimmy Douglas. He likes how
Oh,
Jimmy.
yeah. Okay.
And No ID was the producer of that project.
Yeah, I love the album.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just saw
Sonically.
him at AES.
At
And
AES,
was
yeah.
Tony Maserati. Yeah.
Right.
all
Yeah,
there.
I saw
All
Tony
those
there
cats.
too.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Yeah, they got. Yeah, their stuff just jumps out of the speaker. I love all of their stuff. Okay, we're gonna cut for now for the first
Episode, yeah, we went a little bit long,
We
but-
went long, but if
Who wouldn't?
you're a
Yeah.
true
Yes.
gearhead, you're gonna appreciate every word of this because I know
Yes.
I did. I mean, so
Indeed, likewise.
Yes. So with Kwiz, we'll end it with how do we get in touch with you? What's the how do we see your stuff? You know, what's your public?
Just
thing?
go on my website, www.quiztronic.com. That's KWIZTRONIC.com. And you can learn some stuff there. And my contact information is there as well, you know.
Yeah.
IG, Facebook.
Yeah.
You're
Facebook,
active.
It was like, what, Quiz 1, I think?
Yeah, I think it's
Ah,
Quiz
yeah.
One. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, all right, there we go. Thank you again for listening, guys. Please share. Please leave comments at iTunes. Rate our podcast. We're on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Podbean. All good things that have podcasts. Thank you again from. First of all, Kwiz,
Thank
and
you.
from me and Dennis.
Thank you.
Let's go.
Let's go, guys.
For more information of booking 23DB Productions, visit their website at 23dbproductions.com. Like and follow 23DB Productions at Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter for the latest work.